Alexander Volkanovski is one of the biggest names in the UFC with his build and agility, but a fight against Islam Makhachev is never easy. Volkanovski has his own opinions about how he can measure up against the UFC lightweight champion. But are the two really going up against each other?
I didn't see this short guy. Bring him here.
Get Volkanovski in here.
According to Volkanovski, his team is in talks with Makhachev, and the two might go up against each other at UFC 284. And the fans already know if this happens, it's gonna be the fight of a lifetime. Volkanovski knows that this is a fight that everyone wants to happen, so his team is working super hard to make it happen. The reason why Volkanovski wants to go up against Islam is that he wants to use this opportunity to prove himself. Even with the UFC lightweight title under his belt, Volkanovski still wants to show the world that he can take on Islam like no other.
Next for me or whatever it is, people are going to be disappointed. There's going to be a few guys, because there's a few guys right at the top there, especially as the interim. One person.
In the athlete's own words, this showdown is going to be like a David and Goliath. Why? Because everyone thinks Islam is the strongest man on the planet, with the best grappling anyone has ever seen. And well, it's true. But Volkanovski wants to beat him and show the world how incredible he is when he manages to get the job done.
Alexander the Great.
Now that's what you call confidence. But how exactly is Volkanovski planning on doing that? Sure, Islam is a fighter like no other, but Volkanovski wants the world to know that he too isn't that far behind. In fact, the athlete recently went on the record to talk about what a fight between him and Makhachev might look like. For those of you who don't know, Volkanovski is currently 25-1 in his professional career, and is pretty much undefeated since he joined the UFC back in 2016. And that's a record not a lot of people can hold, which is reason enough for him to believe that he can take on Islam too.
I'm gonna take him down, hold him, make him tired, bring him to deep ocean and finish him there.
And while the athlete is having a challenging time moving up in weight class to become the second person to hold the lightweight and featherweight titles at the same time alongside Conor McGregor, you've got to give it to him. With his performance against Brian Ortega, Volkanovski emerged as one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the UFC ranking. In fact, Ortega himself was shocked at Volkanovski's escape acts. While it's been over a year since the fight, fans still remember how Volkanovski managed to win an impossible fight against Ortega. In fact, the athlete himself couldn't believe the man's strength.
Man, guys, I'm so sorry, man. I don't know how this happened. I wanted to keep going, and this thing came out, as you can see.
At one instance in the match, Ortega seemed to be in the lead when he had Volkanovski in a guillotine choke, and for a while, it seemed like Ortega pretty much had the win in the bag. But that's when he realized that Volkanovski had managed to get out of the choke. "I was on top celebrating, I'll be honest with you," claimed Ortega. So he clearly didn't think that Volkanovski was going to be able to make it out of this one, and neither did the fans.
Oh my goodness, what a guillotine by Ortega!
He might go to sleep. The grip is broken.
But the mere fact that he not only got out, but also managed to rain down blows on Ortega completely changed the game. Ortega then attempted another submission, confident that this time around he had the win in the bag. But once again, Volkanovski managed to escape. And the worst part for Ortega, despite all this effort, he ended up losing the bout to Volkanovski, who displayed his immense skill and precision in the game.
I thought it was over.
The champ. He's a
still
savage,
going with
man.
it. And now he's just beat the
Now he's like, I'm going to make you break for that. Oh, big shots.
This is exactly what has earned Volkanovski his confidence. The athlete believes that anyone who wants him to back out of a fight with Islam has probably forgotten the way he managed to beat Ortega, escaping every submission that the athlete attempted. That, combined with the fact that he currently stands at the #1 ranking for ESPN's pound-for-pound fighters.
He's just putting a lot of pressure on Mendez. Ripping to the body, drops him.
That's it.
And guess who's in second place? Islam, of course, which is why a match between these two will raise the stakes to a whole other level. In fact, Volkanovski has openly claimed that anyone who believes he has no chance against Islam is probably forgetting all that he has to offer, especially after that performance against Ortega.
On the bloody nose now, right? So now it's hard to breathe through the nose, Felder.
Yeah, That sucks, man.
Makhachev, on the other hand, believes that as great as Volkanovski is, the athlete just doesn't have the same knowledge of wrestling techniques that he does. Not to mention the fact that fighters from the Dagestani lineage are in a league of their own in the UFC. Wow, shots have been fired. But of course, Volkanovski definitely fired back. The Australian mixed martial artist is currently training at his freestyle fighting headquarters located 2 hours outside of Sydney. And well, let's just say that he's feeling quite prepared. Volkanovski believes that he has spent enough time training and working on his skills to go up to a level that matches Makhachev's.
I love using my leg kicks. Every leg kick doesn't have to be one that's going to take their leg out. Sometimes I use them.
If not, exceeds it. Makhachev is currently finishing up his camp in Perth. Volkanovski believes that his camp, though, is longer than most other ones. He did clarify that he wasn't exerting himself, but he was making sure to do all that he could to build a good base for himself. And you'll be surprised to know all the effort he has been putting into it.
A lot of people, he's rangy. He's not. He's like, he loves being in the pocket. He's, like I said, he's a gamer. That's why I've got so much respect for him. His last fight against...
Volkanovski's camp has wrestling coaches along with multiple jiu-jitsu trainers to get the athlete fit and ready for any fight. These trainers were brought in pretty early to help Volkanovski plan his games, so it's safe to say that the training has been going on with full force. Volkanovski also didn't hesitate before talking about how different he is from the rest of the players in the game. What does he mean by that?
Leg kicks. Every leg kick doesn't have to be one that's going to take their leg out. Sometimes I use them to direct them, where cut them off,
Well, according to the athlete, he doesn't do things the way everyone else does. He trains differently, plays differently, and has that never give up attitude that will definitely take him further ahead than anyone has ever imagined. But in spite of it all, Islam might be the one to break Volkanovski's streak. Why do I say that? Well, that might have something to do with the fact that Makhachev's last 5 victories have been possible because of submissions. The athlete sure does have a knack for wrestling and grappling.
Here's that guillotine from Wade. He's trying to lock it up. Makhachev gets the knee.
Which is also why people believe that he will be the one to end Volkanovski's unbeaten streak with his prowess. In Makhachev's own words, the reason why so many people place their bets on him is his Dagestani background. "We are a small republic, but we have many Olympic champions," said the athlete. He talked about how wrestling is the traditional sport in his homeland, which is why the way he plays the game is unlike any other. Don't be fooled though, because Volkanovski is more than prepared. Whether it's the way that he has been training or the way in which he approaches the game and his opponent, Volkanovski is here to stay. He is planning on entering the octagon at around 76 kilograms in his first UFC fight in the lightweight division.
Nice stick with the left hand by...
The athlete has been pretty vocal about not letting any of his extra bulk get in the way of his speed and footwork. And it makes sense, right? Since those two elements have been the reason why he has climbed to the top of the rankings. In Volkanovski's own words, he feels much stronger, and that's something everyone around him has noticed. And it is because of his fit physical form that he's ready to take advantage of his strength, which include his speed and swift movements that have turned games in his favor time and again. Who knows, maybe Islam will finally need his match. And that's all we have for Alexander Volkanovski's odds against Islam Makhachev. See you next time. Bye.